Okay, first in the video series on character structure. Character structure is a way of looking at how we hold defense mechanisms in our body. I'm not going to go too much into the history of it, but it was first identified with a guy called Wilhelm Reich, who was a psychoanalyst around same time as Freud and Jung. And he realized when working with clients that actually people were physically carrying and holding within their bodies their symptoms of their psychosis, the patterns of their psychosis, and this was affecting their character. It was held like a memory in their postures and their movements or their lack of movements. And there's been a lot of work since he sort of brought this to everyone's awareness. And it's been categorized as different, the different structures have got different names dependent on when they developed in childhood stages. So I'm going to talk today about the schizoid, or it's also called the unwanted child or the hated child. And they're not particularly nice names, but it gives you a sense of why as I'm talking about it. So the unwanted child, around conception to birth and 3 months. This is when this defense mechanism can start to manifest. So essentially, every single emotion that the mother is having will impact the unborn child. If the mother realizes that she's having a boy and she was expecting a girl, or has lost a friend, is grieving, has lost a parent while she's pregnant, some trauma has happened, the stress chemicals can go into the unborn child. And the unborn baby, the fetus, the nervous system, receives that information. And essentially what it's receiving is something feels unsafe. Or let's say, for example, the pregnancy's fine and the baby's born, and all of a sudden mum then experiences a trauma, or she breaks up with her partner and she's now dealing with the baby and doesn't have the resources to give the baby the attunement that it needs. And so she's experiencing anger, or she's experiencing hostility. And it might even be projected towards the baby because the baby is demanding things from her that she can't give. Whatever the equations are, the baby starts to receive information from an unattuned mother of, I'm not accepted and I don't feel safe. The baby essentially is brought into the world and needs constant attunement and reassurance, physically, through the eyes, through touch, through holding, through warmth, comfort. And if those things aren't provided, essentially what the message it's receiving is the world is harsh and the world is unsafe. So the only defense mechanism the baby has got from this reality that it's perceiving is through its eyes and through its ability to, we call it energetically, withdraw. So if mother's eyes are hostile, or if mother's not able to make eye contact with the baby will learn to look away. And if mother is not warm and receptive and comforting so the baby can relax into her touch, it will energetically hold back and withdraw. If this becomes a pattern, and generally this is if the mother has to be like this consistently for this to become a defense mechanism in the baby. So let's say, for example, if that carried on and moved on through different various stages of development, what would then happen is this would turn into a defense mechanism throughout life. So it would show up in an adult as someone who maybe is not particularly confident or comfortable with maintaining eye contact, someone who might even glaze over when they're looking at you with their eyes. They may find more comfort in environments that are more gentle, or they may actually find themselves gravitating towards environments that are very, very harsh, because they're repeating this childhood pattern. A harshness that they feel uncomfortable with. They can come across as loners or incredibly smart, intelligent. They might talk a lot or analyze things because physically they're not particularly grounded, because what they've learned as a child is that physically the sensations of the body don't feel safe. So they've not experienced this warmth and comfort through the skin. So the body then might hold a lot of tension around the spine and around the muscles of the upper back, which contract when we experience the startle, the fear response. The body might look even a little bit malnourished. to some extent, where the adult might not be able to receive very well. They might not be particularly great at self-care. It's not all negatives, because as a defense mechanism, and it was very necessary at the time, any defense mechanism has got an intelligence behind it. So it can make for someone who's actually very gentle, who does not anger very quickly, who is able to rationalize and be very logical in situations. The downsides are they can be quite detached, find it difficult to maintain intimacy. They might also find it quite difficult to feel their emotions. So they may be able to talk about the emotions that they have, but to actually physically feel them is a challenge. So it's okay with the negative emotions, but it's also numbing the positive emotions of impulsive joy and happiness and playfulness and curiosity and fun. And there's a spectrum. So you may have quite a lot of the symptoms, if you like, of the defense mechanism. Or there just may be one or two that happen in times of stress, where you need reassurance, and actually then you energetically withdraw, you take yourself away from people because it feels safer, you feel less vulnerable. The ways to work with this as a defense mechanism would be to slowly start to bring more sensuality to the physical senses. Anything involving grounding exercises, barefoot walking, yoga, anything with a physical movement to it that isn't endurance events where you have to disassociate from pain and discomfort, because they're good at that anyway, but more bringing the feeling of the body back to life. Safety through touch, so maybe through massage, and breath work. So when we've experienced fear or the fear response, very, very early on, our nervous system can become hypervigilant, and we tend to breathe more from the upper chest. We might even have antagonistic breathing, where you breathe with the belly comes in on the in-breath and out on the out-breath, instead of the opposite way around. So starting to do breath work can help to restore some of this healthy function of the nervous system, and just basically provide a different response to what was offered to you as a baby. So this is the first defense mechanism that can develop around those early stages of in utero to around 3 months. And then the subsequent stages I'm going to talk about in other videos.